He's a direct disciple of our Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. I think he took initiation from Prabhupada in 1975, I believe, 1975. And since that time, he's been serving in so many various capacities. I think he was sent to Africa, Kenya for 2 or 3 years to serve there, and then especially in the UK, he's helped raise funds for so many of the temples there and led the preaching in so many different ways in the UK. Not only is he do that, but he is actually a very, very in high demand Brahmin priest, sort of to sing in all of the weddings that go on in Bhaktivedanta manner. Kripamoya Prabhu is always in high demand to conduct those wedding ceremonies. What do they call it? Dola Maharaj, eh?
Doria Maharaj.
Doria Maharaj. Doria Maharaj. They call it Doria Maharaj. They want the wedding ceremony performed by Doria Maharaj. So, and he performs wonderful ceremonies. He's loved by everyone there in the UK. So, very, very happy that he's here with us today to share a few realizations in this time. So, thank you very much for accepting.
Haribo.
So you become who you mix with. You heard that expression? You become who you're friends with. As Prabhuji was saying, when people see me in England, they go, "Oh, Maharaj Dorioche," and I have to explain that I've been mixing with Gujarati's for many, many years. And they say, in England, they say, you eat. You hear that expression? Yes. You are what you eat. So if you eat Gujarati food, you become... It's true. Now I have Gujarati children. Gola Krishna Ya. So now people say, Mahadev Jai say, Nene, Dorio Bhare, Gujarati Anda. So, very nice to see you. Very nice to be here again. I was here last week for the initiation ceremony. Congratulations to the youngsters. They seem to be getting younger and younger, don't they? Who was that girl that was the Shingadev Kirtan at the end?
Oh, yes. Mohini.
Tala, next week she gets a new This must be the most enthusiastic temple for getting. So, what to speak about? How long do I have?
6 o'clock.
Okay, that's good. Good. For me, it's good you have a cut-off time. So you can, otherwise, I'd be saying, Maharaj. Big guy. Khatam ho gaya. Tripati ji. It was nice. It's my great privilege in life that I do Vrindavan, Krishna's home. And sometimes we say that, don't we? We say Vrindavan is Krishna's home. But how long did Krishna stay in Vrindavan?
Yes.
How many years? 11 years? Something like that.
Something like 11.
How long did he stay in Mathura? How long did he stay in Gujarat?
100
Many
years.
years, 80 years, 90 years. Yeah. So which place does Krishna like?
Krishna is Gujarati, right?
Huh?
He's
Krishna is Gujarati, yes.
He
Dwarka.
must be, huh? Sometimes they say God can come to a particular place and he likes that best place. Then you know the people that from that place are very special people. So when I was 20 years old, I went to East Africa. East Africa is a very special place too because people from Gujarat came there to work and manage the railways, the businesses. And that was in the late 1800s, early 1900s, like that. And they brought everything with them, and they brought Sri Krishna with them. And there in that environment where the British did not like them so much, the Africans did not like them so much, they preserved the Krishna Bhakti. All over East Africa you'll find Krishna mandirs, all flavors. You'll see Nathji, you'll see Radha Krishna, you'll see Sitaram, you'll see Swaminarayan, you'll see Balabhacharya, you'll see these. Because wherever that community goes, there will be a temple to Krishna. It's natural, it comes from that. Because Krishna, he likes you. He doesn't like the British so much. I don't think so. Otherwise Krishna would have come to London. Can you imagine Krishna coming to London? My grandfather, he was in the British Army in India, and he was a servant of Queen Victoria, and he lived in Calcutta for 2 years, 1897 to 1899. Then he was sent to Africa. But from him and Ekdoti Charpanch said, Sat, Hat, now. So we have in Britain we have a great relationship. You know, of course, that I'm from Bhaktivedanta, but the money from Bhaktivedanta, the money to build Bhaktivedanta came from India. You know this? The man made money in India, then he said, I'm going to settle in England. He was living in India, made his money there, came back, built the house. A little bit later on, it was sold to Beatles, and the Beatles. You know the story. So, in my life, all good fortune that I've received from this Krishna consciousness comes from, this Dwarish. All great fortune in my life has come from Rukmini Dwarkadish. Yes, we are devotees of Radha Krishna. That's true. But Rukmini Dwarkadish is very special, as is Satyabhama. Some ago I was in Tirupati, and you know, of course, in Tirupati, it is you line up to go and visit the temple, and it was on the day of Naraka Chaturdashi. Naraka Chaturdashi. I said, what is everybody celebrating? I said, is it Dussehra? He said, no. Dussehra is for people in the north of India. This is Naraka Chaturdashi. I said, what is that? He said, well, it is when Satyabhama killed these demons. And I said, surely you mean Krishna. Krishna Bhagavan kills. No, Krishna. Satyabhama is doing. So there's a big festivity, big folks. So they really celebrate Krishna's Dwarka pastimes. These are very beautiful pastimes. Of course, if you read Krishna book, you see that much of the Krishna book is set in Dwarka. Please give me some stories, something that happened in Dwarka. See how many stories in Dwarka you can remember. Anyone? Starting with the youngest. Huh?
Sudama came to Dwarka.
Sudama, give her a round of applause, please. Thank you. Very good. Sudamipra, yes. And? Mm. Another round of applause, please. What else?
And Brahmas, all different Brahmas came to the...
Yes, it's one of my favorites, actually. One of my favorites. I have two favorite stories. One is when Brahmas came, and the other is when Krishna was stealing the cows of Brahma, and was also belonging to Brahma. So he gets a little bewildered. And
And the fight, that Krishna goes to fight Asura.
Kalevan.
No, not right.
That's
well, it's different, isn't it? It's Banasura.
Banasura.
Banasura, how many
Sahasrara.
arms?
Yeah.
1,000 arms.
1,000 arms. Then there is
Jarasan. Shishupal.
Shalya.
Shalva.
Shalya.
The battle with Shalva. Even Ganeshji makes an appearance in that story, yeah? Ganeshji. Vakratunda Mahakaya Satisma Prabha. Even he makes, but even he can't be the Vignavanaya in that story because Krishna is there. He gets reduced. So what else?
Pradyumna and Aniruddha bond with
Pradyumna and Aniruddha, and that is the story of, who does Aniruddha take a fancy to?
Usha.
Usha. And who is the lady that makes the matchmaking? Who's the shadi.com in this story? Do they have that over here? Maybe not. Who was? Chitraleka. Chitraleka, that's right. And what else happened?
Krishna orchestrates Arjun's marriage with Subhadra.
Yes, Krishna's also playing magic. First he gets them married, then he takes them to Kurukshetra for a big fight. What else?
He went to
Oh, Nriga.
He went to rescue Rukmani.
Yes, Rukmini Haran. Rukmini Haran, when Krishna actually goes to the kingdom of Mithila.
No,
Vidarbha. Vidarbha, sorry, yes. So he goes there in one night, no? Wonderful story, Krishna to rescue Rukmini. From one letter. See, confirmed. Thank you. I was just waiting for that sound effect. So in one night, Rukmini was in this big battle. Then King Nriga, you said. King Nriga was a man who, great king who gave many cows, and just by accident one cow strayed into the field of another Brahmin. Big problem. Krishna corrects that problem. Krishna tells his sons, don't take the property of Brahmins. This is very important for the government of India today, who seems set on taking the property of Brahmins, temples, temple lands, isn't it? So in this way, many activities happened. I wrote them all down, and there's one that I'm forgetting, even though in England we have something called the Bhaktivedanta players. We have actors that put on these. And many times when I was younger, I got to be Krishna. Now they don't ask me anymore. I don't know why. Sudama, yes. And of course Balaram visits Vrindavan. It's a sad story actually. Balaram visits Vrindavan after many years. And the gopis are saying to Balaram, Krishna said that he would not ever leave us. When he was going away with the Kruda, he said, don't worry, Mahasucha, don't worry, I'll come back. He never came back. He never came back. Why did he not come back? We've been crying for him ever since. Why did he not come back? And Balaram was trying to be peaceful. He remembers you. He remembers you every day. But the story of Sudama is a very interesting story actually. There's many, of course you know, what was the name of the town that Sudama was from? Yes. Have you been there?
Yes.
Yes, I've also been there. Englishman have been born in Poland. On my way to Jamnagar. I was on my way to Bhuj, which was on my way to Dwarka. So, Sudama, there is a famous story told that Sudama wanted nothing from Krishna, but his wife wanted him to go. My grandfather was a little bit like this after he came out of the army. Do you know the name Winston Churchill? Have you heard of that name before? He doesn't come off very well in industry, I know that. But he was in this, my grandfather was in prison, and Winston Churchill was in the same prison. My grandfather was a cook. He was cooking for Winston Churchill and the officers. Anyway, he went on to become the Prime Minister, not my grandfather. My grandfather was, up until he was not what we call a paka sadhu. He was a drinker and swearer and smoker and not a very good man. He came out of the army, not a very cultured man. Then he had tuberculosis. And when he had tuberculosis, the priest came to give him the last, say prayers. He said, because the doctors told me that this is it. Tonight, you won't make it till the morning. I said, all right. So in the middle of the night, he woke up and he called out to my grandmother. And he said, see these angels at the bottom of the bed? He said, these two figures at the bottom of the bed. He said, get rid of them. Tell them I'm not going anywhere. And my grandmother took a cloth and she went, shoo, 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 shoo. And in the morning, he believed that there was a life after this one. It was a real Ajamil moment. He believed that there was a life to come. And that what we do on this side affects what we will receive on the other side. So he really believed that. So what did he do? He became a preacher. He became a preacher. And for 30 years, every Sunday, preaching. Different churches. Anyway, his wife said to him, but you don't make money being a preacher. Every preacher knows that. If you want to make money, do real estate. If you want to make money, but you want to know shlokas, become a preacher. Isn't it? We don't make that much money. Look at my wardrobe. Not a rich man's wardrobe. Anyway, so she said, why don't you go to Winston Churchill? He said, why would I do that? She said, because he was the Prime Minister, he has money, we have no money. You go up to London and see him, tell him that you used to cook for him, maybe he will give you something because we have nothing and I don't see any future for us. He said, I want to do that. She said, what are you going to do? He said, have faith in God because God will supply everything. So he went to London, he got down on his knees and he prayed. He knelt down and he prayed like that. Next morning, he came with a big, big box of items for Christmas. Anyway, Sudama's wife was a little bit like that. She said, look, you used to know Krishna. You used to know him. You were schoolboys together. You went to the same school, Pani Muni's school. Avanti, why don't you go? And Sudama said, no, I don't want to. He said, we have nothing. At least go see him. He might say something. He said, well, I have to take something. You know the story, so he took some power. It was power, right? Or crushed power. And the story is, he's 64 miles he went from Porbandar to Dwarka. And you know the story. Krishna receives him very well, and when he comes home, there's a beautiful house. Wife is wearing a beautiful sari with ornaments. He said, what happened? She said, I don't know, I just woke up. See, she was greedy. She wasn't greedy. There's another story told. A man whose wife was greedy. And she, this Brahmin went down to the ocean. And in the ocean he saw a fish. And the fish put his head up above the water. And the fish spoke to the man and said, I will give you any wish. I'm a wish-fulfilling fish. Whatever you want. This is an Indian story, so fish talk, okay? Go with me. So he said, but how can you talk, Yosh? He said, well, try me. So he said, all right, I want a big house instead of a small house. He went home, there was a big house. He said to his wife, what happened? She said, I don't know, I just had a nap. I woke up in a big house. He said, well, it was a fish. And he told the story of a talking fish. And then she said, well, why didn't you ask for something else? We need food. It's a big house, but we have no boga. Ask for it. So this went on and on and on. Eventually, she was living in a palace. She said, ask your fish friend this morning. She said, I want to be the queen. I want to be the queen. I want to be in charge of everybody. He said, I don't think that wish will be fulfilled. He said, it's too greedy. We're Brahmins. Mustn't be greedy. She said, no. You go and ask him. Ciao. So he went back. When he came back, she was being served by 15 attendants. She was sitting on a big throne. He said, now are you satisfied? She said, satisfied? Soch nahi hai. I'm not satisfied. She said, I want to be the Shankaracharya. Shankaracharya. I want to be the spiritual head, not only material head. I want to be the head of everything. He said, well, but you're a woman. She said, doesn't matter. Your fish can do anything. So she went back. She was sitting there in Bhagwadavesh with Danda. She said, now, bow down to me. My dear husband, bow down to me. And now are you satisfied? She said, no. I want to be in charge of the sun and the moon. I want to be God. And the fish, when the man said to him, my wife wants to be God, he said, go home. He said, go home to your little house of sticks and stones. You were too greedy. My kripa had run out. So this story is told that if we are too greedy, we don't get what we want at all, because greed is like fire. It burns. A little match, everything is gone. One day I was at Bhaktivedanta Man, and we get many people. Many people come. There was an English man, he was eating porridge, as we serve people porridge for breakfast in the morning. Do you like porridge? Sometimes. So he was crying, the man was crying. I said, why are you crying? He said, because 2 days ago, he said, I went to the newsagents to get the Sunday papers. He said, I came back and my house was on fire. There was nothing I could, my wife, my 2 children, all gone. He said, I went inside the house. All that was left of my wife and my 2 children were a pile of ashes. So in 1 hour, 1 or 2 hours, he lost everything that he loved in his life. So then people come to a place like Bhaktivedanta Man when they lose everything because they realize what was in the power of God. Even if you don't know who is God, still know that if there is a God, these people here, they seem to know something. Let me go and ask them. So this lady was too. But one great Acharya has said, Sudama, the Brahmin, he had a problem. And it wasn't that he wanted money, but his Maya was that he thought that I can purchase Krishna with poverty. If I have no money, Krishna will love me. So he deliberately kept himself poor so that God would love him more. This was his Maya. So the Acharyas say, in order to break that particular type of Maya, Krishna gave him wealth. Krishna gave him wealth to show him, just see, I love you, but I've given you wealth. And don't think that poverty will buy me, because nothing will buy me. How does it go? Only bhakti. Chapter 11, verse 55. How does it go?
50,
Bhaktyamam
Abhijanati
Abhijanati
Yavanyash Tada.
Yamanyashchashmita.
18.
18 is it? Okay. Don't think that this will purchase me. Now, the interesting thing, when I went to Avanti, are we okay? I'm saying, I'm a bit slow tonight. When I went to Avanti, now known as Ujjain, I went there and we went to the place where Sudama and Krishna went to school. And when we were there, Sadhu told me, he said, the half of the story that you may not know. He said, it goes like this, a local story. He said, Sudama had a lunch pack, tiffin, little tiffin, in his dhoti, wrapped up. And he was sent by Sanipani Muni, along with Krishna, to pick wood from the forest. We know. Rained, they took shelter. Sudama didn't want to share his tiffin with Krishna, so he turned around like this and he goes. Krishna said, what is that noise? Sudama said, nothing. But I hear a noise like chewing. Have you got something to eat? No. He said, what is it? He said, I'm just cold. It's cold. My teeth are chattering. But he was eating some little thing like that. So later on, he had to pay for this little deception by taking a small tiffin. So he paid Krishna back. See, Krishna knows everything. Krishna knows everything, but Krishna is grateful for everything also. Krishna is grateful for everything. Every little thing that we do is seen by the Lord. And I want to say that in your community development here, you should be very, very pleased with what you've done. This is a wonderful thing to come from an idea. I've seen the latest developments. It's a wonderful thing. There are some, there are some wonderful things that can be done when a community works together as a team. And building a people is one of the greatest things you can do. When I saw this, I saw, what does it say? Opportunity. It's an opportunity. Sometimes in business we tell people that, don't we? This is an investment opportunity. What we really mean is, I'm trying to sell this to you. But when it comes to a temple of Lord Sri Krishna, it is an opportunity that comes along, perhaps in only 2 lifetimes, to be able to contribute to the building of a temple. And of course you've heard these things many times, but in my life, I became a devotee at the time when there was 40 people in the Hare Krishna movement in England, in my country. 40 people. They said, come and join the Hare Krishna movement. I said, where's the movement? But there's only 40 people here. They said, well, we are in the process of making a movement. I said, well, how long is that going to take? I said, well, if you help us, it'll be a lot quicker. So, Jaldi Badaro, help us distribute the books and everything like that. So, and now we have something like 17,000 people who make contributions. For our Janmashtami, every year we have 2 days of Janmashtami, 35,000 people. See, what we didn't know, 35,000 people a day. Yeah. What we didn't know is an African dictator was going to kick all the Gujaratis out of Africa in 1972, just a few months before George Harrison gave us the house in which put Shri Radha and Krishna. You see? And they only lived 8 miles away from us. So just imagine, they got closer and closer. And then, so we had a big community. But all over the country people contribute. And the next thing, of course, after you have a temple, is a school. You want the school. So one of our devotees, he wanted to make a school, and now there is 9 schools, which are Hindu schools all over the country. First one was visited by Her Majesty the Queen, late departed Queen, and she came and she listened. She sat with her husband, the Duke of Edinburgh, sort of as close to the temple, to the altar, while the children sang a bhajan by Narottam Das Thakur. And then after it was finished, she said, that was beautiful. So she took prasadam, she saw the deities, she heard a bhajan. She received a cushion inscribed with, inscribed with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dancing in the Jalikanda forest. So 9 schools and another 3 schools, I will call not Hindu schools, but spiritual schools, where they teach yoga, teach Sanskrit, but it's not specifically Hindu. And that is just from one idea. So now in our community we have many people taking initiation. We have 550 people waiting for initiation. 550. I'm not supposed to boast, or maybe I am, but I'm just saying that from ideas and teamwork comes the realization. There's nothing that we do with Krishna's help. Krishna makes everything. He's the Yasha. He's the master of magic. You know, sometime in my life, I've also not been rich. So sometimes I just find myself thinking, Hare Krishna, I'm singing, that's nice. I'm singing to Krishna, that's nice. But I don't have any money. And I'm not asking for any for tonight. And if you do have money, give it to people here who are building the temple. But one day I was in our temple in London, and I was thinking like this, did I make all the choices? Did I make the right choice? Because I could have done this on the side or that on the side. And sometimes we think like this, don't we? And at the bottom of the street, we were just having deity greeting. At the bottom of the street, there was a Rolls Royce car, and another car, a Bentley car. And out of those cars come these who come to the mandir every morning. Together they're worth about 20 billion. Not million.
Billion.
And a billion in England, well, was a lot. 1,000 million. So anyway, about 20 billion between them. And they came into the temple, and I was leading the kirtan and dancing. They came, and they also started dancing. And we were dancing in a circle. And I looked over to the altar. Now, I don't hear voices. If I tell you that I hear voices, they can go get a psychiatrist. It's at 911. We need to take him away. He's hearing voices, and he's Pagal. Chakram. I hear voices. But it was as if I heard a voice from Krishna saying, see, you don't have what they have. That's all right. But they've come to you this morning. They've come for the kirtan. You haven't gone to their house. They've come to my house, Krishna said. And then I was happy. I was very happy about it. So I've seen miracles. I've seen miracles in my life. We've just finished you know what it's like building. Always costs more in the end. 11 million pound project to build a Haveli, big hall, but it's finished now. Anyway, so sometimes people say, and I don't know if you've ever heard this before, but it's very nice to build a temple, but what about book distribution? You know, people say that too. What about book distribution? Prabhupada would like you to distribute books. Well, in our community now, the Sankirtan leader, the top book distributor, is Gujarat. And he has teams and teams and teams, and they go to door. And they have 6 times book distribution every marathon. It's phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. So teamwork makes the
Dream world.
teamwork makes the dream work. Here's what I want to say for tonight, and I have to be quick now. Last night, we took the children to a winter, what was it called? Winter wonderland type thing. There was a train ride. over in Bergen County, the train ran. And I was reminded because the train was coming down the track and whistle. Well, it was quite like that, you know, an American train whistle. And then we saw the light at the front of the train, and then we saw the people come in. Srila Prabhupada's guru, he said, when the first train was riding in India, he said people saw the smoke, they heard the whistle, and some went home. They thought, now I know what a train is. You know this example. And the others saw the light, and they went home. They got impatient. The last group of people waited, and they saw the people inside the train. He said, this is Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. He said, these realizations are available to you as long as you don't become impatient. So I think in life it's always a good lesson to wake up each morning and think to yourself, what more do I have to do to become the devotee that I want to become? What do I learn? What do I have to understand? How do I have to make friends? How do I have to work together with other people? Giriraj Maharaj was with Srila Prabhupada in Bombay. When Prabhupada visited people, if they were chanting, Prabhupada would say, are you contributing? Would you give us something to help our mission? If they're contributing money, Prabhupada would ask them, are you chanting? See? This is the thing, there's always truth in. There's always something you're doing. Don't become proud of that. Look at what you're not doing and thinking, could I do a little bit more of that? And the most difficult thing, as one gentleman told Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said, I could never join your movement. Bhakti Siddhanta said, why? An easy thing, chanting Hare Krishna. He said, yes. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, chant Hare Krishna, but Trinadapi Sunichena Tarobi Srishna. You have to be respectful towards everyone, even when they're not giving you respect. He said, I could never do that. He said, for me to work with people, I respect as long as they're respectful to me. If I work with a group of people and I think they don't like me, or this one doesn't like me, or this one's not respectful, Katamogya, it's all finished. To be a real follower of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu means to get over that, to be able to work together to accomplish more. And so Giriraj Maharaj told this story. He said Prabhupada told him that he said, in this material world, controlling the senses is the most difficult thing. Sharira avijajal tridandriyada. Senses are the most difficult things to control. He said, but harder than that is chin and controlling your senses. He said, controlling your senses, leading a life of discipline, and preaching. He said, that's very good. But there's one thing, harder than that. Imagine what it is. He said, harder than that is controlling your senses, preaching, and working together with other people who are also controlling their senses and preaching. Why? Because when you're trying to work on an egoless platform, your mind craves respect. Because you're not done with the ego, you're not done with the desire for respect. It's just like fasting. Do you like fasting?
Not so much.
I really don't like fasting. Especially when my wife comes to me and I've just had my breakfast and she says, oh, it's a half-day fast. And I go, oh, that's not correct. We're not following that day. Quick, check it out. Is it fasting in Mayapur? Is it fasting in New Jersey? Is there some loophole I can exploit? The point is, the mind screams. So when you try to work together in an egoless way, the mind screams, what about me? I want respect. Don't you know who I am? Isn't it? It's when you get a so-called celebrity and they're not treated, they say, don't you know who I am? And the person goes, no. They get very angry. Kardashians, you don't know me? I said, no, I don't know the name. Are you from India? So we hate it, don't we? We wonder, we crave it. So if you can do that, you're doing really well. Look, I just want to say, what more can I be is our first question. What more can I be as a devotee? And what more can I do? If you're more of a doing devotee, ask yourself, what more can I be? If you're more of a personal development person, what more can I be? Ask yourself, what can I do? As the one devotee up to Prabhupada in Vrindavan, and there was a puddle, and Prabhupada was looking at the puddle, and was looking at Prabhupada, and was going, we think we have met your divine grace by providence. We are accepting you as the captain of the ship. And Prabhupada looked at him and said, just do something practical. Get rid of this water in the courtyard. There was one arm in Hyderabad where Prabhupada was looking around, the devotees were talking philosophy. Prabhupada looked at the ground and said, why is this rice on the floor? And the devotee was saying, oh, we will get it, Prabhupada. He said, do it now. Anyway. I want to tell you a story of how wonderful it is to build a temple to Krishna. I'm going to finish. There was one, I had a friend actually, he came to Krishna, it's the stories within stories. But my friend came to Krishna consciousness. He was a thief. He was a car thief. And one night he broke into a car, and as he drove it off, he started the gym. And there was, in the old cars, we have a cassette recorder. You remember cassettes? Kids, if you don't know what a cassette is, you're missing out. It was a little tape. Anyway, and he was driving down the road, and the cassette was working, and it was a lecture. And it said, you are a thief. You are a thief. You are stealing property that does not belong to you, he said. And he just stopped the car, and he listened. He said, and the voice said, so, everybody in this material is a thief. They have taken what does not belong to them, but it belongs to God. He just thought to himself, say in England, oh heck. And he took the car back. He realized that he'd stolen a devotee's car, and this was Prabhupada's speech. He went to the Hare Krishna temple, became a devotee. That's not the story. The story was of a similar thief who came upon a pilgrims. They were going to a big temple of Sri Krishna. And he thought, I have heard Sri Krishna is very rich. If I go to the temple, maybe I can take the hundi box. It's a very common thing, isn't it? Take the hundi box. One time Prabhupada was, this is a spinning story. One time Prabhupada was in India, and one boy, one brahmachari, he took the hundi box. And 4 months later, he came, and it was a Pandal program. And this young boy came back, and he only had one leg. And they pointed him out to Prabhupada and said, this boy, Prabhupada, he stole the hundi box, and now he only has one leg. And Prabhupada went, just see. So anyway, the thief said, let me go with these pilgrims, with these yatris, and I will steal the hundi box, and I will break in. Maybe I can get more than the hundi box, maybe I can take Krishna's kavach and kundala and gut. Maybe I'll take these items, then I will make a good profit. So he went to the temple town, and he waited until the new moon, when there was no moon in the sky, it was very dark, and it was also raining. And he had studied the movement of the sentries who were patrolling the chowkidar. The chowkidars are stopping everybody coming. So he went and he climbed up the wall, and he climbed up another wall, climbed over another wall. And by the time he got to the temple, his shoes were covered in mud. He looked into the temple, and he said, I see Krishna on the altar. But if I go to Krishna on the altar with his muddy feet, then what will I do? Know that I'll leave tracks. So, and this is a lesson to you, don't do this in your new temple. On the floor of the temple was one tile, and there was a corner missing. So he started, you know how you do with your boot, you just scrape just scraping his shoes off the temple. He wasn't very respectful, but he went up to the altar and he paid his obeisances, because his mother always told him when he went to the temple, pay your obeisances. He was about to steal from Krishna, but he paid his obeisances. He took off Krishna's dhoti, then the kavach and the kundala and the mukut, and wrapped them all up, put them on his bag. And he retraced his steps. But as he was coming over the last wall, the wall was very slippery and he fell, and everything fell with a crash. And the chowkidars picked him up and said, "Oh, who is this? Look, he's been stealing from Krishna." And with their sticks, they beat him. And they beat him so bad he died. Hare Krishna. Hare Baba. So Yamaraj came, the Yamadutas came. Hare Krishna. Just coming to the end. So again, and the Yamadutas were just about to take him to, what's the place? Naraka. Oh. Just about to take him down, which floor, sir? 6th floor. And then the Vishnu Dutas came and they said, "Stop! Stop! Where are you taking this man?" And like the story of Ajamil, they said, "No, you can't take him." They said, "But he's been a sinful man all his life. He's thieving, he's come to the temple, he's even stolen from God himself. We are going to take him." The Vishnu said, "No." They said, "Why?" Because when he paid his obeisances to Krishna, all of his sins were forgiven. When he asked forgiveness as he was stealing from Krishna, Krishna forgave him. So there's no pap. And when he was cleaning his boots, he filled in the hole on the marble floor. So even though it was only mud, he helped to build the temple of Sri Krishna. So because he's done this very small act of devotion, building a temple, he has been given a place in Vaikuntha. Anyone who does a little bit for the building work of the temple of Sri Krishna, that person, Krishna builds a place for him in Vaikuntha. It is in the Skanda Purana. Just read, then I will finish, because I'm very desperate to get on. Next part of the program. Well, the Srimad Bhagavatam says, if you install a deity Krishna in a temple, if you pay for the deities to be installed, if you pay for part of the program, all your sins, you will become the king of the earth. Srimad Bhagavatam continues to say, if you build a temple, or take part in the building of the temple, you'll become the ruler of the world. And if you worship the deity in that temple, you'll be given a residence in the planet of Brahma. And Srimad Bhagavatam concludes by saying, but if you do all three, you will come and live. And Skanda Purana finishes up by saying, if you do these things, just by starting this work, 8 generations of your family will be protected. Everybody wants a good descendant. When we do weddings, we have 7 generations we read out. It's like a long, long time. People you don't know, they're just name piece of paper. But of those descendants, every single person sitting in this room now, if you go back 7 generations, we're talking 1,400 people. It takes 1,400 people to make you. Did you know that? 1,400 pieces of DNA, 1,400 people working hard all their lives, 1,400 people praying to God. So eventually you could be born. You can pay back by helping to the temple. And even if it's just scraping those boots, even a small thing. Prabhupada in 1973, when we were opening the Bhaktivedanta Manor, he pointed to the altar and he said, this bhakti is so powerful. Bhakti Devi, she is Sri Krishna's consort, Srimati Radharani. He said, when someone comes and he just puts one screw in the temple wall, one screw in the temple wall, or one nail, he said, Srimati Radharani will enter Krishna and point to that person and say, just see, my Lord, you see this Maha Bhagavat who's just walked in. See what he is doing. Please give him your mercy. And if Srimati Radharani is asking Krishna to give mercy, then there's no problems. No problems. All right. We should, I suppose, finish. Yes. Good. That's all I have to say on the subject. And thank you very much.
Anyone want to take a question?
Anyone have any questions or comments? We can still go another minute or so.
Anybody who hasn't given a donation to the new temple, the opportunity. They didn't ask me to speak like this tonight. I just thought that's the flavor of the yatra.
Yeah, thank you.
Go ahead.
Hare Krishna.
Hey. Is Kripamoya Prabhu ki?
Yeah.
Srila Prabhupada ki?
Yeah.
So Prabhuji was talking about the tiles and the chips. So we'll try to make sure our tiles are all solid. In fact, we're in the process of ordering the tiles right now. And we have some devotees who are putting that together, getting them some from Brazil and China, different places. Very beautiful tiles. We do have a very urgent shortfall of roughly $450,000. And I'm saying urgent because if we don't pay our contractors now, may have to pause the construction. And if we pause the construction, then it ends up costing another $500,000 or more, because then you have to reactivate things, you got to deal with the contractors. So our momentum has been very good. We have spent $6.5 million. So a round of applause for that because of all of your help. That's not a small amount. You know, we started building this, we only had maybe $80,000 in the bank. You know, starting a project like this is like jumping off a cliff and then making a parachute on the way down. You know, it's kind of like that, you know, and with that risk, we knew the Lord will step forward. We knew the Lord will inspire all of you to come. So please find it in your heart to help us out at this very urgent juncture. We need it in the next couple of months only, and it is very tight. Of course, you won't see too much stress on Nimai Prabhu's face and other devotees' face because everyone is blissed out in the holy names, but a lot of stress right now financially. So if you can please help out, find other devotees or other potential things where you think will be able to participate and help and take advantage, and their home in the spiritual world will also be secured because of this one little gesture to give the Lord. The Lord doesn't see what you give, He is seeing what you keeping, and He sees what you have. So let's not have our little snack and turn away from the Lord. Let's share with the Lord. Srila Prabhupada, Hare Krishna. And we want to thank Prabhu for giving us so many dimensions and how the Lord is so sweet and so reciprocal in every way when we just approach Him even a little bit. So we're very grateful for Prabhu when He comes. Every time He comes here, it's a joy, for the heart. So thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. So we'll have Shayana Aarti at 7 o'clock. So it's less than an hour from now. About 6:45, our team will be cleaning up this temple room. So if you can wrap your prasadam, honoring, and before that, that'll be appreciated. So we can clean up in time for Shayana Darshan. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.